Hi folks, we're Jason at True Vintage RC, and I'm joined here today with, or by, Lou Sola.
Thank you.
We are on the track, literally on the track at Knox, down here in Melbourne in Australia, and we're coming to you in the midst of when this track is being rebuilt. So what you're seeing in the background is a bunch of new soil that went down yesterday, and we have a bunch of people here helping out. And what's going on, Lou? So we're here to talk about the Bash 3.0.
Yep. So it's been 40 years since this club has been here. Very iconic in Australia, and of course the sun's going to come out right in my face. So
Yeah, get your hat on.
Where was it? Yeah, okay.
40 years.
40 years. 40 years at Knox. This club sort of lost its way for a few years, and now it's back up and running again. And one of the reasons it's up and running again is because of the vintage scene here in Australia. It's really growing. So yeah, big track rebuild, and we are keeping it old school still. We're not going motocross jumps or anything like that, so it'll still be vintage bash friendly.
So the story to now is I brought a camera to the track, and I thought I'd get Lou on camera and he could have his say about what's going on with the vintage bash 3.0 rather than me mincing words, and so you could hear it directly from the source. So in November this year, it's 1st to 3rd, is that correct?
31st of October to the 3rd of November.
That's right, we've got the Thursday now.
Yep.
So yeah, we've got the vintage bash 3.0. So stepping back a couple of years, Tony Gray and Lou and Aaron DeFina and I think it was Scotty Giles, I think that was the team back then, were putting on an event at the Keilor track here in Melbourne, and I didn't even know what to expect. I thought it was just going to be, 20 guys, rocking up, and it was just going to be this really basic event, but it wasn't, was it?
No, it blew us away at the response, first of all, and a lot of things came out of that first event, which we used for the second event, and now we've fine-tuned for the third event.
Yep. So, yeah, the first event was at Keilor, and that was on a clay track that had canola oil. Is that correct?
Yeah, canola oil track. We wanted to have it here, but we literally didn't have enough manpower at this club to actually host that event, so we ended up running it at Knox instead.
Yeah.
At Keilor instead, yeah.
I mean, you can imagine, I've driven down from north of Sydney and landed there at Keilor, and it was the weather wasn't great. It was actually quite wet, and as I pulled up to that track, there were people with vacuum cleaners out on that track sucking up the water. So that surface is very slick, and it almost looked like tar. It was black, but it wasn't really in keeping with what the vintage tracks were back in the era when I first started, because they were more like with the track that you see behind me now. And for those who've checked out any of the videos from the Bash 2.0, this is the facility, but they've taken it up a notch. They've actually decided to, this year, they're resurfacing the track and they're coming up with a new design. And so why was that?
It literally eroded away. This track's open to the public 24/7, so they come here with cars that probably shouldn't be getting run here and destroy it, and we have to upkeep this at our cost. So it got to the point where the track had eroded so much that some of the old aggregate was starting to come through. So we thought the best way to tackle it is to get some soil over the top, and while we're at it, let's do a new design.
Perfect. Yeah, well, I'm excited about it, and so a bunch of other people, because I drove down just over 1,000 kilometres from home to come down to, and I thought it would be maybe me, Lou, and a handful of others, like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 of us, and no, there's more like 30 odd people turned up yesterday. It was a great response, and everyone's volunteering their time and their manpower, and bringing even, some of them bringing even basic hand tools, and everyone's pitched in, and they've really want to get behind this project.
1,000 kilometres in Australia is just like driving to the shops, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, mate. Pretty much, yeah. Or to the second shop after that.
Pretty much. That's it.
But no, so I mean, I've been a big supporter of what they're doing down here with the Vintage Bash. And unfortunately, this is take 2 of our video here today because I forgot to press the record button. And so we had some great discussions before now. So I guess we're going to try and pick up on them again. And what's happening with the Vintage Bash 3.0 this year in end of October? So it actually starts on the Thursday, right?
Yeah, Thursday's our Cars and Coffee Day, because we've identified what draws people to the vintage scene, and it's the actual cars. It's not so much competition, it's the cars. The cars are unique. Everything pre-2000 generally was not designed by a CAD. It was someone drawing pictures and trying to make it work. So, and it brings a lot of feelings in a lot of the guys like myself that have been doing it for such a long time, that we get to see some of these cars that we remember back from the 80s or early 90s and stuff like that. So we figured rather than it just being a flat-out competition event, we're going to not only have the cars on display on the track, but also off the track. So what better way to start it off than with the Cars and Coffee on a Thursday?
Yeah, it sounds very relaxed to me, and there's no racing to make your next heat or final, and people can just, catch up and talk and shoot the breeze and pick up each other's cars and I guess share in their experiences and even create some new ones. And so this particular year's event, as it's turned out, is going to be era-based. So it starts from the 85, 87 IFMA events, and it stretches right through 4 different age brackets through till 97, is it, and beyond?
2000 is our cut-off.
Yep.
97, 2000 is the last ones that we do.
Yep. And so just for the audience, what I thought I'd do is I thought I'd throw a couple of cars on the table here, and just to show just how different they were from, in that earliest era. Here's a Marui Samurai, and it's a chain-driven four-wheel drive buggy from back in the day. Galaxy, yeah. So this is the Marui Samurai. It's got like a monocog chassis, as you can see from the underside. And for anyone who is a bit of a fan of the car, they'll know exactly all about it. And that is going to be an example of the earliest model car that was around back then for this event. And we're going to go right up to the very end of the event. So this is a 90, well, surely it's 97, isn't
97
it?
onwards,
yeah.
X4, yeah.
So, you're talking about like a full, graphite chassis, built driven. It's as the hobby has evolved over the years, going from these really early designs up to the world class IFMA winning type cars, and so it's just given people an opportunity now to I guess identify with what era maybe they enjoy. And what I liked about this concept was that people aren't now literally forced into, let's just say, the two-wheel drive class. Now, if you wanted a two-wheel drive RC10 Worlds car, that's fine, or if you wanted a B3, that's fine. Or you might want to run it to me a Frog, but, they're not of the same era. So it's now created cut-off dates so that people can come here and comfortably enjoy a car and don't feel outgunned by a car that's much later in the piece.
Yeah, because there was from the early days through to probably the mid-90s, there was like a quantum leap in the performance of the cars, and it was generally driven around the IFMA Worlds stage. And what we want to try to do is create a time machine to go back to actually see those cars racing against each other. And if you're going to see any of those videos from like the early 80s, where you see, I've seen some Japanese videos where they've got like Optima Mids racing against the Optimas, and there's a couple of hot shots in the background and that sort of stuff, and it's really good. So for that reason, we've tried to break it down into the IFMA style worlds eras, so then people are more gravitated towards running a car that's period correct for that era.
Yeah, exactly. And so on the Thursday, we've got the Cars and Coffee, and on the Friday, it's official practice, I'd say.
It's official practice, and we'll probably do a little bit of maybe the stadium trucks on the Friday afternoon. It just depends on the entry numbers, which I think are going to be quite big.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll have heaps of time to actually enjoy the track, and there's a lot of guys taking photos and little videos and stuff. So you'll get to see cars on the track that you probably generally wouldn't see, a Zerda or a Samurai.
Exactly, yeah. So and then we've got Saturday and Sunday, which Saturday I take it is tool drive day.
Saturday will be tool drive and Sunday four-wheel, yeah.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. And so what about winners and losers? How does that work at this event?
Everybody that comes to the event, in our opinion, is a winner, because this event isn't really, although we call it the Bash, a Bash is probably not the right terminology. It's more like a festival or a carnival. It's for us to re-enjoy these old cars once again. So this is an opportunity for people to bring their stuff out and display it in its natural habitat, which is a dirt track. So this car wasn't designed to be run on hard clay surface. It was designed to run on a dirt track, i.e. the same as that one, right? So the fact is that come and show off your stuff. Come and watch some of these cars getting driven by guys that now have got 30 years of setup experience and know what oil to put in the shock and what piston and spring to make them so they don't bottom out. Or they can look back at an earlier car and go, oh, that feels a little bit too soft. I can do something about it to make it better. So you'll essentially get to see some of these cars being driven by guys that can drive at their best.
Yeah,
which is how cool is that?
Yeah, which has been something that I've been a big fan of for the last few bashes, a couple of bashes, and no doubt it'll be this way as well. You've got people who will turn up who've never actually been to an RC car track before, or they've recently gotten the hobby and they like the whole vintage thing and they've got a re-release, or they've maybe chased up, or maybe even been gifted their dad's car or something. Who knows, right? Yeah. So these events, from what I've seen, are good for everybody, because you've got absolute newbies. You've got people who probably just want to come watch anyway, who are quite happy just to stand on sidelines and watch all the action. And then you've got even right up to, Australian National A finalists, and even
our world A finalist that we claim as our own, Rory Cole.
Yeah, Rory Cole. So, but the camaraderie that goes on at these events is really something to behold. And there are vintage events being held across the world in different countries, and even in different states in Australia. And Lou and I have been in this scene for quite a while. But I guess what you and your team have been putting together is a reflection of what you think is a good match for this, for the
absolutely scene. Like I touched on earlier, the attraction to vintage RC is the cars. So it's, in our opinion, it's not so much about your finishing position, because we did that 35 years ago, not now, right? So it's just trying to create that time machine to go back to a time when we can all remember and we're so fond of.
Yeah, and I think all the sheep stations have been won. There's none left. There's no more to claim.
Yeah, there's a few left, but most of us are too old to try to find them, I think.
So that's what's going on towards the end of the year. And, there's quite a bit of reach with this Vintage Bash here at Knox. So the humble little Knox track here in Victoria has attracted quite a lot of interest from overseas. And as it stands, we have 2 Americans flying into the country for the event. We've got
3 Americans, got 2 Americans and a Canadian. He's American as well.
Yeah, we kind of see them as American because they're just sharing the same landmass. Yeah. And we've also got a good contingency coming from New Zealand. And, I've been trying to pop up some footage of these cars in action on the channel over a while. And people have seen this sort of stuff and they can identify with it and they want to come be a part of it. And, there's no trophies for winning. There's no for second and third. I mean, sure, it is racing because there is still transponders being put in cars and there's a timing loop, and you can check out what times your car's doing, and you can see how maybe you're even going up against your friends. But yeah, there isn't a podium at the end. But last year there were trophies given out, and what were some of those things?
Well, we just sort of went for stuff that is relevant to the vintage scene, like what was the coolest car, what was the most period correct,
who was the oldest driver,
just stuff like that, just trivial stuff that put smiles on our faces.
It really was, like people, it was quite jovial because we were looking around for the oldest person, or who would travel the furthest. And I'm sure that sort of fun's going to happen again this year. And we've even got some good commentators coming on board. So
yeah, we'll have some commentators. We should have some a live video feed. Hopefully, we got quite a few photographers coming out with their SLR equipment, so you'll get those really nice shots. I mean, I've got a shot of a Turbo Optima Mid that looks like it belongs in a Kyosho catalogue.
Yeah, and
that sort of stuff. Yeah.
And that's what this event really does deliver, doesn't it? You know, and even if you're on the fence about whether or not you want to come be a part of what's going on at the bash, you really need to check out some of the previous videos around the bash. And it's not just from me. There are other people out there who've done videos, and there's some great DSLR stills, you know, literally with the dust coming off the tyres of the car, you know, or they're coming and landing, you know, and it's some really, really great shots. And we want to encourage anyone out there who wants to bring, you know, their digital SLR or their GoPro or whatever. And
hot shot.
Oh, hot shot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what else would you like to talk about for the event?
Well, the earliest class we've decided to make it to run a 2-inch tyre because there's a lot of, like Jason said, there's a lot of vintage racing happening all over the world, which we think is really cool. But we're a little bit more purist,
yes,
to an extent. And a frog with 2.2-inch wheels just doesn't look right to me. It doesn't. It's a neo vintage as such, right? So now in 2024 we've got access to 2-inch tyres thanks to mainly Car Show. They do a lot of their re-release kits come out with the 2-inch tyres, but also people like Mar1. These are the Mar1 OT 66 tyre, which make it look. I mean, they look perfect, exactly the same as what the car looked like, and on this type of surface they work. So in order to try to create the time machine that we're trying to create, if the cars look right,
yeah, it's a snapshot.
Correct.
It's a snapshot. When you look at the grids, especially the 85, 87 era, you know, you look at the grid, and you're not going to see a double X4 sitting up next to a Ruri Samurai because, look, some people that might be their thing, but that's not what this event's trying to be about. And but imagine seeing, you know, an SG Coyote or 2 SG Coyotes, 834 Yokomo Dogfighters, you know, Ruri Samurai, original Kyosho Optima, you know, a Javelin, all those sorts of cars, a Mugen Bulldog, Deserters, and you know, it really does take those people back. And I don't think a lot of people can really even foresee just yet, but they will when it actually finally all happens. The penny's going to drop, and people are going to be sitting there and just like, what am I actually looking at right now?
Yeah, it's like a time machine to the past.
Yep. So, I mean, I go back to some video from the Keeler event, and Lou was running his Losi Double X, and I think it was a 21.5 class, but just to be a little extra cheeky, Lou ran what was it, like a 14 double or something?
It was an 11 triple from back in the day, but I also ran it on tyres. All right, I'll go back a step. So for that class, for that event, we decided that all the two-wheel drive cars were going to run 21.5 or a brushed stock motor. But I sort of, before the start of the final, I looked at my car and it looked so nice, and it took me back to a time when I used to race at the Losi Double X, and I thought, how cool would it be if I put the car on the track as I would have in 1996 or 1997? And I just happened to have an 11 triple from back in the day, so I quickly took all the brushless stuff out, put it back to brushed, and I even went to I had a set of Losi Sprint silver compound, which was still from 1997. I put them on the car as well, so I was struggling for traction a little bit, but the car was exactly the same as I would have put it down in a say a 1996 Australian Nationals, by the lipo. Everything else was exactly the same. Yeah,
and they had this set of triples there, you know, and I was down there with a GoPro on a pole, and I was following the cars through that section, and you know, like some of the slow-mos of just how amazing those cars looked in action, you know. And you've got Scotty Giles, and he was running a
Fireblade Evo.
Yeah, Shoemaker Fireblade, and I think Cookie was running his 89
Masonic car,
yeah, the stealth car, and just the way those cars were driven so expertly, you know, and it just the camaraderie around that track, especially in the two-wheel drive A finals, was insane. There were people lined up around the track 2 and 3 deep, people cheering, clapping. It was a lot of fun, and so that's what I really like about the bash is that even some of Australia's best drivers have come and attended and brought out some great cars, done some amazing driving, and they're showing people what these cars are capable of even now.
Were capable of.
Yeah, were and still are now. And then but then you've got wheelie classes. You've got classes where even kids can come along and they can begin their journey even and experience the fun stuff.
Well, it's only a matter of walking around the pits and asking people what their first car was, and you'd almost stick your neck out and say that 75% of the people would say some type of Tamiya car, whether it was a Hornet, a Grasshopper, a Frog, whatever. So to see the comical representation of those cars doing little wheelies around the track, okay, they're not vintage, but it sort of links a little bit with the vintage, and
they're certainly fun. They're certainly fun plastic vehicles that were they're a caricature really of what those earliest designs were, and that made it fun. But so I guess the Vintage Bash is a lot of different things for a lot of different people, and I mean we could spend the next 5 hours sitting here talking about everything, and I'm sure that camera is going to run out of battery before then. But I guess. It's fair to say, Lou and I are in good contact, and we've discussed lots of stuff. Now, I'm not in any way official to running this event. I'm just a participant like everyone else, but we share ideas and concepts, and we're on the same page with so many things. But it's clear that this event is designed for everybody. So whether you are, an Australian A finalist or even an IFMA winning driver, or anyone from around the globe, or an absolute beginner, it's for everyone. And the success of the Vintage Bash so far, even in the years preceding this one, has just been mind-blowing. I mean, what were the entries like last year? How many entries or how many people?
Well, I think we had just under 130 entrants, and I think across the 3 days it was close to 280 entries all up. So, there was quite a few. More than what we expected,
I've been to vintage events since about 2006-ish or 2007. I don't know if I've ever really seen more than 40 people turn up to an event. So that alone, if that doesn't speak volumes to some people, I don't know what does. But so the event does cater for a lot of people, and behind the camera here to my to the right here, we've actually got a really big, nice grass field here. And last year it was just like tent city, and a couple of us took drones right up, and you could really get a feel for the sort of the setup here and how many people were turning up, and it's a lot to take in for some people. I'm sure for the newbies who are going to come along this next year, they're going to spend the whole time just walking around
the pits,
almost lost.
Lost. It's like the Burning Man for RC, pretty much. But that's just another reason, something else that we wanted to try to do is try to get the atmosphere like it was back in the day, where everybody had their own little pit space, but you could be within shouting distance to everyone. So that's a beautiful grassed area that we got next to the track, and obviously the period correct classes to try to break the cars up, so we haven't got that Frog versus Triple X matchup. Mind
you, if you could drive a Frog as good as the Double X, you'd be doing pretty well, I reckon.
I reckon. Maybe Masami maybe with his feet.
So where we're at now is basically we've had. All the clubbers had a pretty special person come on board and give them a hand with this track. And so who was doing all the excavations yesterday?
So when we talk about the Vintage Bash and the vintage scene, it isn't just the cars and the common interests that we all share. There's a lot of old stories, because a lot of us we've been racing each other for a long period of time, and we talk about it like the RC family. I mean, I go back with some guys here like over 35 years, and I've known them since they were kids, and now they've got kids of their own. And one of the guys that came out to help us, he was a kid back in the day when I first met him. His mum and dad used to drive him and his brother around everywhere, and he went from being a guy that used to run the Silver Cane class to being an Australian A finalist, and very, very good sponsored driver. And as time's gone on, he's taken over the family business, which was an earth moving business, and we still stay in touch to this day. And I'll tell you, even while on camera, that it's still weird seeing the kid now as a late 40s man that's got his kids of his own. I still see him as a kid, but he came out. He drove 2.5 hours down here, brought his equipment, and literally helped us shape this track to the way it is at the moment, and he's back here next week again to try to finish it off. So that's what this sort of hobby means to a lot of people. It's a reconnection. It's an RC family. It's It's just that, rejoicing the past and living it again.
Yeah, and as Neil would say, we're all nerds.
RC nerds.
So and we all know it, and I don't think anyone really holds himself in any greater esteem than the other because we're all RC nerds. So this is your safe space to come along and be an RC nerd.
I knew it, yep.
That could almost go on a T-shirt, Lou.
Yeah.
Nerds.
Nerds.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun and a lot of good camaraderie, and you know what? It's an opportunity for people to talk about old memories they have of the sport or the hobby or whatever you want to call it, and but also this is a top opportunity to come and actually create your own memories now, because this is a good safe space to come along and do it in whatever fashion you like. You might want to turn up and just put on a display, and we had a guy here last year turn up with Ruffy turned up with a whole display of what was the whole collection of Marui?
Complete collection of Marui cars. Yeah, every single one.
He didn't even drive, right? He didn't race. Now, the previous year he came along to Keilor as a spectator, and he didn't know what it was about really. No. But this guy found it with himself to put on this giant big display. I think he had like a black and white checkered.
I think he had the signage. He had some of the pamphlets of the cars, like everything.
Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't. You don't even have to come here just to race. I mean, we'd like everyone to have a go if they want to, but you're more than welcome to come along and just check it out. And so we got 4 days of it basically. And I mean, we got Keith from RC Icons coming over from America, and Dwayne coming over from Canada, and we're going to share some accommodation here just around the corner. And about that, if you're thinking of coming from afar, you better start jumping on accommodation soon, because all the good spots are probably getting taken up.
This is Bash number 3, and although I'd like to say that we're going to have Bash 5 and Bash 10, it's hard for us to actually say that. It's an opportunity that may not come around again.
Yeah.
It may come around again, it may not come around again. And my advice is, if you're from overseas and you decide that this is something for us, an event like this, I don't think you're going to find anywhere else in the world, not with our rule set and not with our real focus on the vintage side of it. Rather, there's a lot of neo-vintage stuff happening now.
Yep.
I just think if you wanted to see the cars in their pure form, this is probably the best event to. And the last thing I'll say is that the majority of the world has a really good exchange rate against the Aussie dollar.
True. Hey, Lou, how can people out there in the viewing audience who are seeing this on YouTube, how can they actually get to be a part of this? Like, would you like them to contact you somewhere, or is there a page
you can contact me through the Vintage Bash page? There's no problem. Or if you want to send me a PM, I'm on Facebook. So
that's via Facebook. There's no web address, is there?
Well, we got a website, but it's not really been utilised, so we're going to shut it down. We're just going to go off the Facebook page.
Yeah. So if you've got a Facebook account and you'd like to jump on, I'll put some links in the description so you can find Lou and the team there, or you can even look up their Bash page, because that gets updated all the time, almost hourly, with any number of things going on. So where are we in Melbourne?
We're in the foothills of the Dandenong Mountains in a suburb called Knox.
And so how far would that be from, which airport would you fly into?
Tullamarine Airport.
Yep.
Tullamarine Airport. We're about an hour via the freeway.
Yep.
But if obviously if we got some overseas friends, that we can point them in the right direction.
Yeah, they're an accommodating bunch, and if you have any questions, I mean, you're also welcome to contact me directly, and I can pass those inquiries on to Lou, and or I can put you in direction of Lou. So anyway. In the background now, we've got guys on whipper snippers and shovels and picks and mattocks, and there's lots of things happening. But thank you very much, Lou, for having me down.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And thank you for stopping to check out the video and learn a little bit more about the Bash 3.0. And we'd really like to see you come along. And thanks very much. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Or here. Yeah. You might catch them here.
Yeah, here.